So I'm with you on that one, though, Timbo. Go Irish. But
No. Roll Tide.
Go Irish. I want to see.
Come on, you can't. How can you say that after you sat at my house on Saturday watching the game, cheering with me?
Bama to win.
Cheering with me. Now all of a sudden you're against them?
We needed Bama to win so I can start nagging Mike Golick about our little
You're
deal.
either with us or you're against us. You better off being with us.
I was with you on Saturday, and on January 7th, I will be against you.
Makes me sad at heart.
I'm sorry. Come on, me and you don't root for the same teams. It's not natural. You shouldn't do that. It's just not right.
It can happen every now and then.
It happened on Saturday. I was pulling.
I'll tell you what, that was a hell of a game too.
That was a hell of a game.
That was if you wanted to watch SEC football and realize why they're the best conference in the nation, that was the game you should watch. It was a smack you, punch you, hit you. I mean, the two hits, I mean, the one that was put on Aaron Murray that wasn't even called a penalty, and then you have the one that was put on A.J. McCarron that was called a penalty. I mean, those two hits were just unbelievable. I mean, the one where the guy Dial from Alabama just laid out Murray after the interception. Through the interception, he's looking down the field, and this lineman just drills him.
They'll take him any chance they can.
Planted him. Did you see it? You had to have seen it.
Yeah, I saw. Of course, that was a highlight. That wasn't just a play. That was a highlight.
But that was indicative of the whole game. Was just a punch you in the mouth run game. I mean, when you came over to watch the game, I was telling you, Alabama just needed to give the ball to Lacey to run up the middle because they were just getting chunks of yardage right up the gut.
Yeah, and Alabama was pounding the ball. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
He had 181 on 20 carries. And
Lacey.
Lacey. With 2 scores, and then you had on the other side, Yeldon from Alabama had 25 carries for 153 and a score. Both averaged over 6 yards a carry. Both are actually averaging over 6 yards a carry right now for the season. Yeldon actually has 1,000 yards total on the season, and Lacey has a little over 1,400. That's a lot of yardage for two backs.
That is a lot. Well, you said it to us on Friday when we were talking about that game. Was the simple, if there's things to look at, it's the freshman running backs on Georgia, and how well can Alabama run the ball with Lacey. I mean, Lacey to me was your tone setter. I mean, it was his touchdown run that put Bama on the board finally, and he was the attitude. I think it is the right word to use right now. He was the attitude of Alabama. When this guy got the ball, he lowered his shoulder and ran people over. He went hard. You know who he reminded me of? Not saying he's as good, but he looked like Adrian Peterson. On that one touchdown run he had, that was an AP type of run. I mean, there's no other way to put it. This man lowered his shoulder. He broke tackles, this, that, and the other thing. I mean, it was just a man run. How about that? Let's put it that way. It was a man run. So when it comes down to Bama winning, I think they deserved it. It was a great, great game, ladies and gentlemen, from beginning to end. The third quarter, which is actually the part of the game that I did miss, which is very disappointing, considering I watched the first quarter at home for the most part. I go over to Erich's. I watched the second quarter with him, leave at half. Missed the majority of the third quarter, and then I watched the last 2 minutes of the third and the entire fourth quarter. Very upset with myself, though, because I know what I missed in the third quarter. I got to see the highlights from it and all that, but I'm like, oh, that sucks. As a football fan, you know what I mean? Just a legit football fan. I missed some really, really good football in that third quarter. But it was a great game. I believe the better team did win, too. And I think that's a fair thing to say.
It was, and I mean, it came down to, the end of the game, that poor clock management. How do they not spike the ball with 13 seconds to go and get yourself set up?
Yeah.
Instead, they rush it. You could tell everybody was out of sync. He throws the ball. It gets tipped. It's not even supposed to go to that guy.
I got to say one thing about that play.
Go for it.
There are two things that need to be realized. One, you can't get too mad at the wide receiver for doing what he's naturally done since he's been a little kid, and that's catch a ball that went in his direction. I know Georgia fans were pissed. Oh, you should have let it hit the ground. It would have got us one more play, blah, 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 blah. The kid did exactly what he's been doing for his entire life. You cannot be mad at him for that. And number two, probably almost more important than number one, out of any person individually that deserves credit on that play, it's the safety that tipped the ball. Am I right or am I wrong on that one? Because if he doesn't tip that ball...
No, it was a linebacker.
Was that a linebacker? I get mixed up with the numbers.
The linebacker that I actually told you to watch out for, C.J. Mosley, number 32, was the one who actually tipped that pass.
I see. I get confused with the numbers in college.
Well, that's because numbers don't mean anything in college.
Like
you could have two
NFL,
guys with the same number.
segmented.
You could have two guys with the same number, but as long as one plays offense, one plays defense, it doesn't even matter. You could have two number 3s, two number 4s, two number 10s. Doesn't matter in college football.
Yeah, see, and that's where I got confused. I thought it was a safety, but either which way, if he doesn't tip that ball, you don't know what happens on that play. And secondly, if nothing happens, Georgia has time to run another play. So that tip ball is huge because then it puts the pressure in Georgia's wide receiver's hand to try and think on the spot of, wow, I really shouldn't catch this because if I do, the game's over. But I'm completely with you. I don't know what Georgia's thinking not spiking that ball. I mean, that made absolutely no sense to me. I have no understanding of why they didn't spike the ball. Because you spike the ball, you set yourself up for 2 plays. I mean,
absolutely.
What else do you want in that situation?
I have no idea what was running through Murray's head on why he didn't spike that ball. It's a mental mistake on his part. How do you not? And I mean, that close. It's not like he had to heave one to the end zone.
No, they were not even 10 yards away.
They could have called any play in the playbook. All they had to do was stop the clock.
And like Timbo puts out in our chat room. And on top of that, Georgia had the momentum on their side on that drive. Everything was in their favor. You spike the ball, you get organized, you make as a head coach, you pull out your playbook and you're like, all right, what play do my players love the most? What play do my players execute the best? And you bring it. You don't sit there and rush up to the line. You don't sit there and rush a play. Now they did, and Alabama made a great reaction to that with the great tip and all that, but as a head coach, you should know better. And I put the blame on him for that. I don't blame the players. It's not their fault. They did what their coach told them to do, especially in college. I mean, you can't tell me that quarterback ran up to the line and he, blew off his head coach and said, we're just going for it. I guarantee you that didn't happen. So as a head coach, you need to know that at that moment, running 2 plays set and organized is more important than trying to catch Alabama on their toes.
Yeah.
And he didn't. He didn't take advantage. It was terrible.
Definitely terrible.
Yeah, see, like Timbo just said, maybe Georgia thought they were going to throw off Alabama by not spiking it. But based on the way Alabama played that down, I don't think Alabama was thrown off at all. They came off the edge the right way. The linebacker knew to get his feet off the ground and get up in the air. The corners were all in the right spots. I mean, even when the receiver made the catch, they're right there to get him. Even if you could get up in college and run, Alabama's secondary and linebackers were there to make a play on the kid if he could. I know in college you can't, but I'm just saying, even if it was NFL rules and you're allowed to get up after hitting the ground, still wouldn't have worked out. And I'm very shocked by that, but at the same time, props to Alabama. Played a great game. They were trailing for a large part of the game. They kept their heads in and kept fighting. And we are set for what should be one hell of a national championship game. At least I believe it really should be. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch that game. January 7th. So close, yet so far.